I read The School for Good and Evil by Somon Chainany. Hey everyone, it's Kayla, and today I am doing my February through June wrap-up books. I read The School for Good and Evil by Somon Chainany. This is the first book of a middle grade trilogy. It's about two friends, Sophie and Agatha. Agatha is like dark and dreary. Sophie is this pretty princess who thinks she's all that, and Sophie is just hoping that one day she gets picked up and taken to the school for good. But what ends up happening is that both girls get sent to the opposite school. So Agatha is in this good school and Sophie finds herself in this evil school, and it just goes from there. This book literally took fairy tale tropes and smashed them to smithereens, and I loved that a lot. And I really found myself becoming passionate with these characters, and maybe not in a good way. Like towards the middle of the book, I hated Sophie. I hated her. In fact, I hated her so much that when I updated my Goodreads status, I think I actually said I fucking can't stand Sophie, and I like hardly ever swear on Goodreads, but she deserves it. However, the writing was a little disjointed at times for me. The pacing was really off. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed this story and I can't wait to see where the series goes, but the pacing just wasn't quite there for me, and that's why I docked a star and gave this 4 stars. So then I read the second and third book in the Winter's trilogy. I read The Winter's Crime and The Winter's Kiss by Marie Rutkowski, and this is one of my favorite series of all time now. I mean, I know it was really hyped up when the third book was released in March, but let me tell you, it deserves the hype. It's probably up there with The Girl of Fire and Thorns for me now. Kestrel is just such an amazing character. The characterization in this trilogy is so well done. Like, as a writer myself, and hopefully potential future author, I really, really admire Kestrel as a character and the way she's developed, the way she is described, and the way she uses her mind. Instead of being all physical badass, she's all mental badass, and it is just fantastic and refreshing to see in a YA fantasy. And I just love the slow burn romance in this, the angst. Even though this trilogy is romance heavy, I felt like the world was fully developed. I didn't have any problem with any other aspect of the series. All of the elements in the series blended really well together. The romance, the war strategy. I loved how slavery was presented in this series. Even though I gave this conclusion 5 stars and it was a very satisfying ending to a wonderful trilogy, I think the second book is my favorite of the trilogy. I normally don't cry ever when I read a book, but the ending hit me so hard. I'm still not over it, even though I've read the conclusion. I just loved this series, and I gave both of these 5 stars, obviously. So then I read The Storied Life of A.J. Thickery by Gabrielle Zevin. This book is about a bookshop keeper living on a little island or inlet, and just about his life and things that happened to him, and it's so clever. The framework of the story is told in little book review snippets, and you don't really know why until like later on, and it all comes together like a puzzle, and I really appreciated that a lot. It was really heartwarming and just genuine, and I couldn't put it down. I read it in about a day or two. If I had to describe this book in one word, it would be sharp. There's sharp prose, sharp characters, and I had to give this 5 stars, and it's definitely going to be one of my favorites of 2016 for sure. So then I read AMOUR by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is the first book in their new series, Ariel Ethereal, I believe it's called. I'm not quite sure what the series is called, but Ariel Ethereal is actually like a Cirque du Soleil in this book universe, essentially, and it's about a girl who goes to Vegas to join the circus. For those of you that don't know, Krista and Becca Ritchie wrote the Addicted series, which I absolutely love and rave about on my channel. I'm actually planning to do a non-spoiler review of that series soon, so stay tuned for that. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. I can definitely see where the spin-off novels are going to come from as far as the characters go in this book, and I really appreciated the side characters a lot, so I can't wait to hear their stories as well. So then I read Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. Yes, I am Shadowhunter trash, and I will always be Shadowhunter trash. So I gave this book 3.5 stars, and I feel like I'm alone. I feel like I'm all alone in my 3-star world for Lady Midnight, because everyone is literally raving about this book. Everyone is giving it 5 stars, saying how it's so much better than The Mortal Instruments, and saying how it's so much better than The Infernal Devices. Hold up now. I can definitely see that there's a story to tell with these characters. I mean, I don't think that she's milking it for all it's worth, and I feel like the story told in Lady Midnight definitely has a unique feel versus, say, the Infernal Devices and the Mortal Instruments. I mean, our main protagonist has grown up in the Shadowhunter world as a Shadowhunter. She's not new to the world. She doesn't have to go through all the initiation stuff and learn about the world and who's who and who's getting along with who. None of that. We're just boom, right in the Shadowhunter world. Because we didn't have a character learning about the Shadowhunter world, we had info dumping going on in the first 100 pages or so every now and again, and I feel like that's to benefit people who would just pick it off the shelf, obviously, and not read the other series. But like, it just felt really disjointed and the pacing was kind of off for me. I just feel like it was too long. Like 700 pages isn't really necessary for the first installment. I love the cast of characters. All of Jillian's brothers and sisters hit my heart right here. And I so love the fact that finally mundane technology is incorporated in the Shadowhunter world. They text each other, they have cell phones, they use computers to research things. So yeah, overall I gave Lady Midnight 3.5 stars and I can't wait to see what happens in the next one. So then I read the first 3 books in the Wings of Fire series by T. Sutherland, and this is a middle grade series about dragons, and I love this series. It's probably going to be one of my favorite middle grade series of all time. The story follows 5 dragonettes, and they have to fulfill a prophecy to save the world, essentially, and it just snowballs from there. Each dragonette is a different species of dragon, and I absolutely loved learning about all the different species and how they interact, how they're unique from one another, and it's just one of the best aspects of the series, and it's just so much fun, and I love the characters. They're so likable. Just as a general warning though, I feel the need to warn you guys that there is a lot of violence in this series, gruesome violence. Like, if the dragons were humans, this definitely wouldn't be middle grade. This series has me wanting to play Spyro the Dragon so badly. I love that purple guy. Did you guys ever play Spyro the Dragon? Because it was like my shit growing up. And I gave the first book 4 stars, the second book 5 stars, and the third book 5 stars, and the character development in the third book is just phenomenal. So then I read Fool Me Once by Harlan Coben. Harlan Coben has been an insta-buy, insta-read author for me for the last decade. He writes mystery thrillers and he's so good at it. And it's amazing to me that after all these years and all these books, how I can still be surprised by the twists that happen in his stories. Fool Me Once is about a woman named Maya. She is a former soldier, and it takes place a couple months after her husband gets murdered in a park, and one day she's looking at the nanny cam she installed in her living room, and her husband walks into the living room on this camera and walks out, and she's like, what? And obviously seeing her husband on this camera leads her to start asking questions, and it just kind of snowballs from there. And one element that kind of stays with you after this book is over is that Maya suffers from PTSD, and it was just really eye-opening to see that throughout the book. And yeah, overall I gave this 4.5 stars. I know that it's been optioned for film, starring Julia Roberts. I just can't see Julia Roberts as the main lead, so we'll see how that goes. So then I read The Ice Dragon by George R. Martin. I believe this is marketed kind of as a children's story, and I guess in a way it could be, but I really don't think it's for children. It's about a child. This story takes place in the Song of Ice and Fire universe about 1,000 years before the events as we know it. It's about a little girl who finds her own private ice dragon. Meanwhile, the people around her have to go to war, and there's dragon warfare, and the glimpses we see of dragon warfare in this story are such a tease. Like, I need more stories about dragon warfare in this universe. I'm not talking about 3 dragons wreaking havoc. I'm talking about armies having dragons, like, instead of horses. Like, it was just such a tease to see that in the background of this story. Like, I need that in my life, okay? I need it. I need it. Obviously, the prose was excellent. I really admire George R. Martin's writing style a lot. The story also contains really haunting illustrations, and I loved them. I think I gave this book 4 stars. I'm thinking about moving it down to 3 though, because it hasn't really stayed with me. However, it did make an impact when I was reading it. It was very heartbreaking at times, so I really appreciated that a lot. How many times am I gonna say I appreciate that a lot? I need to get new words. House Kayla. I appreciated that a lot. Those would be my words. So then I read Stormglass by Maria V. Snyder. This is the first book in her Glass trilogy. It follows the character Opal in the same universe as Yelena from Poison Study, and I wanted to read this trilogy so I can continue the study books. The study books that have been recently released have Opal as a character in them, and I want to know her story before I read them. It's definitely a solid start to the series. There's very unique magical powers presented in this story. Opal has the power to manipulate glass. I feel like this book had pacing issues as well. I found myself putting it down at times and then flying through 5 chapters in a row. I was kind of annoyed by the multiple love interests in this series, you know, going from Valak in Poison Study, who was the sole love interest, who I absolutely love, to multiple love interests in this trilogy that I didn't really care for. I kind of felt meh about it. I have on my paper here that I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, but I think I'm gonna lower that to 3 after reflection. And yeah, I can't wait to see where the story goes. I really enjoyed Opal as a main character. Maria V. Snyder really creates strong female characters, and I love that a lot. So then I read The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, and this book, wow. This book was addicting. It's a psychological thriller. The characters are horrible. I really enjoyed this book. I flew through it. It was so addicting to read, and I can't wait for the movie. The movie looks fantastic. Even though I predicted some of the twists that happened in this book, I didn't see the way it was going to be unraveled at all, so I loved that aspect a lot. I love the storytelling in this book a lot. I loved the multiple point of views. I think they were really well done. For those of you that don't know what this book is about, basically it's about a woman who rides the train every day to work. While she's on the train, she looks out the window and like makes up stories based on the people that she sees, you know, what their lives are like essentially. And she always sees this one couple on their balcony, and she like creates this, you know, peaceful environment that they live in, you know, how their relationship's wonderful, etc., etc. And one day she sees the woman on the balcony kissing a man that's not her husband. So it kind of all goes from there. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I'm thinking about upping it to 4 actually. I really liked it a lot, and I recommend it to anyone I come across. And it's just a great book to discuss with people. So I really recommend it if you like mysteries, if you like thrillers, if you like Gillian Flynn, give this one a go. And last but certainly not least, I read A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. And this was a reread for me. I first read the book back in 2011, but since The Winds of Winter might come out next year, I wanted to reread the series, and that's why we're hosting #ReadASOIAF. It's no surprise that I love this series, but rereading it was awesome, and I forgot so many little things that happened in the book that weren't quite in season 1, even though season 1 is excellent. I just really loved reading all the clues and foreshadowing in book 1 that I missed the first time around. You know, names that are just thrown out there that I breezed past before I now recognize, and it's just so awesome to be rereading this series, and I'm so excited to keep going with it. Even things that happened in the show in season 6, I found some foreshadowing in book 1 of those things, and I just think it's phenomenal how everything kind of ties together, how every little thing seems to be important now, and I'm really enjoying the reread, and I gave it 5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Let me know below if you have read any of these things. Let me know below what your favorite book of spring was, and I will see you all soon with another video. Bye!